For me. I'm Dan. I work at a company called Innocent, which I started with my friends 17 years ago. It is a company that makes drinks. Hands up if you've ever drunk one of those drinks. Hands up if you've never drunk one of those drinks. I was going to ask you to stand up or something, but I won't do that. It's fine. So this is all for you, man who has never drunk an Innocent drink. Because I've got 20, 25 minutes to convince you of something, of the worth of what I've done over the last 17 years. My role in that business is I was creative director for many years, but when you get a bit older, they give you a slightly more vague title. So I have a more vague title than I used to have. But ultimately, things I was responsible for since we started was kind of writing things, making things, designing things. So the stuff that you've seen, whether it's physical or flat or digital or wherever it is, or maybe it's an event, that's what I've been up to. I put the text at the bottom because I thought you'd all be really tall, or this would be like, be like Wembley or something. But I don't know what I'm doing. I think it's reassuring, and hopefully it's reassuring to anyone who's just starting out on whatever they want to do. Or maybe it's reassuring to those of us that are kind of halfway through. Maybe it's even reassuring to those of us that are near the end. That I've never really known what I was doing, and to be asked to come somewhere and act like an expert always makes me laugh because I still don't really know what I'm doing. Our business is big. It's really big now. It's depending on how you measure it, it's $1 billion business. You can buy our drinks in 18, 19 countries. But I still approach what we do with the same sense of stupidity that I always did back when we started in 1999, because it definitely keeps things interesting. I think the moment you become an expert, you become too good at something. You kind of lose the edges, you lose the corners of what it is to be clueless. But I'll explain this as we keep going. I've been doing the same thing for the last however many years. I love not having a plan. I mean, we always had a plan. You have to have a plan in terms of you've got to buy enough strawberries, you've got to buy enough bananas, you've got to buy enough apples to put into a big blender and to make into drinks. That's a good plan if you run a drinks business that makes drinks out of strawberries, bananas, and apples. But over and above that, I like the fact that walking into work shouldn't feel like you're ever in a groove. You know, musicians say that they're in a groove. Bass players especially always talk about being in a groove. I would hate to be in a groove. I quite like being slightly nervous and slightly frightened of what I do, as I am now, in this very sweaty former prison. I don't know what it was, but I like to think that it may have been a prison. So let's see if any of these references have dated. Surely not. Has anyone ever seen this film? Waterworld. So they had a great plan, right? Kevin Costner, I think he'd won an Oscar at this point. He's the best looking man in the world. Give him gills. Give them about $170 million to make the world's most expensive movie at that point, and you have a surefire hit. But of course, it was a proper flop and an insane waste of money. That towards the end, I think Costner fell out with the director and ended up directing the last few scenes himself because he's Costner, right? He can do that shit. But does anyone like the film? Yeah, ironically, you ironic guy, but I prefer other moments from Costner, where he is wandering around the cornfield, not knowing what the fuck to do, apart from maybe I'll listen to some ghosts and make a baseball pitch here in the middle of this field. That to me is a more inspiring vision of how work should feel, rather than the Waterworld vision. This analogy always gets a little bit torturous, so stay with me, please. I approach everything in my life the same way. If it feels right, I know it. Does anyone know it wasn't Kevin Costner. Does anyone know who said that? I mean, it's not like in GCSE English or anything, but does anyone ever come? It's Kenny G, who is a jazz musician, and you could tell by the level of that there's probably a few in tonight who don't know who Kenny G is. He's a figure of some ridicule, let's say. Mainly because of his hair, but also because if you get into a lift anywhere around the world, you will probably hear Kenny G, and he's made more money than Usher, right? He's made more money than Drake. He's made more money than all those people by being the guy whose music you listen to in lifts and by having phenomenal hair. But I do love this. I do love to respond to stuff that feels right. I know. I was just on a phone call out there, listening to some people talk about a piece of work that in the last week has probably been rewritten about 30 times. And it's got to the point where nobody actually knows what it is or what it says or whether they like it anymore. And for me, actually, secretly, you can kind of go, the first version was really good. The first version was the version where you kind of meant it, where you felt it. And the committee that has been chipping away at it thus far have probably just made it slightly more move towards average than great or personal or from a heart or something. So if you learn one thing tonight, you learn who Kenny G is. Hopefully you learn more than that. That's what we make. Don't need to show you that. That's an example of a hilarious joke that has cemented our place as Europe's biggest juice. We are Europe's biggest juice company. So the drinks taste nice, right? The innocent drinks taste nice. But I think things that have contributed to that fact are bad jokes, right? Bad jokes have helped us become popular. They have helped us have some currency. They have helped people mess their shoes. This is a spreadsheet, so I'm not like the Adobe guy. I've got his magic pencil here, but I don't know. I have no idea what to do with it. What I do have is Excel, a screenshot of Excel, which is a rival product, some say, creatively, to the Adobe suite of creative tools. This is how we chose our name. This is how we chose the name Innocent. We used Excel. We also went to a library in Huddersfield and looked in a book, but that's another part of the story. But this is how we went through all the words that could mean something as a brand name, right? I don't know if you've ever had that exercise where you've been set the task of invent a brand that makes nappies or dog food or hats, right? And give it a name, and you have to sit there and think of some dumb name. We had to do that, only it was real. It was going to end up in a shop. And we almost, we've got some bad names on there. We've got Babylon, we've got Nostrum, we've got Bambino, like all shit names, all like properly shit names, with equally shit criteria across the top for selecting a name. I guess what I'm trying to do is give you hope that it doesn't really matter how bad your ideas are or how bad your criteria are. Sometimes like little diamonds emerge from the elephant dung. And Innocent was a good name. When we saw it again, it didn't score the top maximum score, but when we shared it amongst, and we're friends, right? We're friends who went to university together, so we got a shared sort of, I don't know, sense of humor or sense of something, that we all went, yeah, that's good. Like when we start our budget airline, that'll also look good on the side of the plane, and when we have our chain of top quality spa hotels, it will look good over the door, because that's obviously what we were thinking, like idiots. We had to test our idea out on people, because you can make drinks in a kitchen, in a flat, which is what we did, with a blender and some fruit, but in the end you've got to make those drinks in a kitchen, in a flat, and then take them and have other people test them. So we went to a music festival, small music festival in West London, and we put up a sign that said, do you think we should give up our day jobs and we had a little table like this with the drinks on, and a bin that said yes, and a bin that said no. And that weekend in August 1998, people came and tasted them and tried our drinks and threw their empties into the right bin. And on the Monday, we resigned from our jobs, and we started Innocent. That was August the something 98, and we launched in April 99. So from that moment of asking the people of Parsons Green, which some of you may know, SW6, kind of mainly sort of mainly dog poo area, is asking those people if they thought our drinks were good enough for them to part money with, and they voted yes. So we had to start the business. And there was still a moment, actually, because that sounds too twee and glib and perfect. There's still a moment on the day after the weekend where you're still thinking, because you've got to stop your old job and start a new job. So you're still thinking your mates might be trying to stitch you up into just resigning from your job for a laugh. So there's still a bit of phoning around to do to say, have you done it yet? Because I haven't done it yet. If you don't do it, I'm not going to do it. But then everyone did it, and then we started Innocent. And then 13 years later, we were a sponsor of the Olympics. So we went from a really small festival in Parsons Green to a really massive festival in Stratford. And I've cried about 3 times during the history of Innocent, about Innocent. I've cried about other things during that period, but if you find yourself crying about fruit juice, check yourself a little bit. But I have, and the moment when I went to the Olympic Park and I saw our stuff there, we're the youngest business to ever be kind of attached to the Olympics in that way, to be a partner of the Olympics. We were the only truly London-born business to sponsor the London Games. It was a really proud, good thing for us, and it still makes, again, like, did we know what we were doing? No. When we got there, we had our little juice bar, which was some wood and some AstroTurf and some fridges, and then you look around at everyone else's amazing stand and stall and shop and structure, and you're like, as usual, we look very amateur. But still, the people from all around the world have come to the Olympics, and weirdly, they kind of gravitated towards the kind of shoddiest looking stall, which was ours. Because I think they kind of thought it was a bit of a joke. We were like, no, this is really serious. This is the best we can do. This is serious. It was good. It was a good thing. So at the bottom, if you can't see, are the words "be clueless." So there's a theme running through this. Does anyone know who these gentlemen are? I can hear sibilants. Beastie Boys. And do you know who the man with the beard is who's not a Beastie Boy? Does anyone know who that is? So he's called Rick Rubin. There he is now. So Rick Young, Rick now. Rick Rubin now. So Rick Rubin found the Beastie Boys when they were very young and told them to do what he wanted them to do. And they obeyed him, and they became good at what they did and became famous. He produced them, he kind of ran them. And now he's pretty much the greatest record producer in the world. So, I think Adele's last album, Rick Rubin produced, or maybe the one before that. Kanye's last album, or the one before that, that's Rick Rubin. He dragged Johnny Cash out of his drunken stupor and forced him to commit stuff to record before he died. And the thing that you always hear Rick Rubin talk about when people ask, because people get all muso with him and say, how did you get that sound, Rick? What were you doing with the knobs and the slidey buttons to get that sound? He's like, he always says, I have no idea how any of it works. Like, he doesn't know how the machines work that he captures the sound, the performance on. He still doesn't know. He has made a point not to learn. He has made a point to find people who are very good at it, obviously, to help him. But his thing in his own mind is to get the right people together, create the right ambiance. He's quite big on rugs in the studio. If you ever see a picture of the studio setup, there's a lot of rug in there on the floor. His studio's next to the sea. It's a masterclass. And to be honest, you would do what he told you, I think, if he was telling you what to do. But it's a masterclass in not having to be an expert, in trusting your feelings, in knowing when it's right to record, when it's right to have a day off, when it's right to... You read the account of when Kanye West had not finished his record, and Rick Rubin locked him in the studio for 3 days and used to put little bits of food in there and then shut the door again, because that fucker wouldn't do what he was told. So Rick Rubin knew the only thing to do with his loud mouth was lock him in. And he made a good record as a result. Using your own voice. After a couple of years of being in business, people said, "Oh yeah, I really like your tone of voice." And at first, I thought that was a great sort of personal compliment. I realised it wasn't. It was about the funny stuff on the labels, and it's about the honest truth is, at the beginning, I didn't know what tone of voice meant. It seems to be a term that is now more common in marketing and the creative circles that we move in. But back then, it was just, that was how we sounded. And it was only the way that we sounded as a bunch of mates, right? It was never designed to, if we do this kind of joke, housewives in Surrey will buy orange juice. Right? It was never, and it still isn't, particularly planned that way. This chap, come on, I bet more of you know who he is. Wes Anderson. So Wes Anderson, right? Who no matter what the movie is, I challenge you, watch the first minute, even if you didn't know it was one of his, watch the first minute of it and you'll know it's his, right? You'll know it's him because it's his thing. Whether it's just the way the shot's framed, whether it's the set, the environment, who the actors are, what the dialogue's like. No studio and no amount of money has ever been able to tell Wes Anderson how to make his films. He makes them uniquely to his own spec, to his own story. Same way that Woody Allen always did. And I think, as an example of using your voice, Wes is good for me. And I guess the result that you get, the result that you get if you stick to your thing and you're true to yourself, is you get fans. And again, I never thought anyone would be a fan of a juice business. But the proof is, so that's a tapestry. Someone made us a tapestry. And everyone goes, yeah, whatever, tapestry. I'm like, no, it's a tapestry. It's a tapestry. How many of you, think of your favorite brand, company, film star, whatever you like, and tell me the last time you sent them a tapestry. Tell me the last time you gave up 2 or 3 evenings and didn't, watch TV or have sex or eat some delicious takeaway food, and instead you decided to make a tapestry for a company that you love. And so I'm here to tell you that is the measure of a great business. So we've had 2 tapestries. And I don't hear no Apple and Nike coming around with their tapestries. Maybe they've got them, maybe they just in a vault. But seriously, if people are spending real time making real things for you and spending real time, writing stuff and interacting with you and having a chat with you via whatever channel they choose, then they're weirdly, we only have a certain number of heartbeats. We only have a certain number of minutes on the earth. So why, if they are spending time talking to the juice company about stuff, I find that amazing. I find it that if you create the conditions for that to happen, that's quite special. So don't break it, right? Don't break that thing that you've made. We've always mucked around with trying to figure out how many people we can get together who drink innocent drinks. Back 10 years ago, we did a festival in London in Regent's Park that ran on for about 5 years. By the time we did the last one, by the time the police and Camden Council told us to stop doing them, it was a free festival, which meant 160,000 people came, which is pretty much more people than go to Glastonbury over a weekend in August. It was too big and therefore illegal, and it broke the tube in that part of London. But still, again, the test of a great business is, why did all those people come and hang out with the juice company? It's again, I don't really know the answer, but I know that we said, we're having a free do you want to come? And it was written on the label, and this is pre-Twitter, Facebook, assembling your hordes via social media. This is people deciding whether to come or not. And then they all appeared out of the trees and had a nice weekend. It's special. We do a thing now that I don't have any photos of, because we're not allowed to take photos there, because it's all about not having a phone or a device. It's called Unplugged. So love to show you some photos, can't. Just finding your witchcraft is interesting. Finding the dumb thing that you're really good at that lots of people aren't good at or don't even know they should be good at. For us, it was always like owning the packaging, like just doing the dumbest, most interesting, strange, unique thing. Because in the end, when I buy orange juice from a shop and I turn the pack round and it says, oranges, delicious oranges, orange juice made from delicious oranges, from trees that have been grown by a man with his hands in the soil. I'm like, yeah, do you know what? Every freaking orange tree was grown by a man who had his hands in the soil. Actually, I'm more interested, and I have a wider range of interest than just, oh, I've got orange juice made of oranges. Thanks for the information. It's like reading the back of a shampoo bowl and where it says, apply to hair. But all of the stuff you can talk about on the back of a smoothie or a juice carton, because you can talk about the mafia, right? You can talk about psychedelia. You can talk about the Velvet Underground. You can talk about colony collapse disorder. That's the stuff I like, I'm interested in, that I read, that I talk to my friends about, that I'll show someone else, at the table or take a photo of and send out. That's our little bit of witchcraft. Is doing stuff. Is recognizing that the world's kind of broader than the little, band of the spectrum that we're on. And finally, this is the kind of final squashed up bit. And the word for the people at the back, it says friends, which is a show on TV. But also the concept of doing stuff with your friends, I think, is really important. I don't know how many of you are here tonight by yourselves, or how many of you came along with a friend because you're scared of other people, strangers. But at the beginning of Innocent, it was really important that we were doing it as a group of friends. It really helped us because it helped us get over all the bits where we thought this isn't going to work, this is going to be rubbish. We screwed that bit up because usually there'd be someone else in our little team group of friends who'd had a good day and would be able to prop you up and support you. They were friends, but then they ended up not being friends. It was really sad. But for the bit where they were friends, they were very, very productive. Jobs and Wozniak, in case the hair's fooling you. Those two again, very productive when they were friends. Probably the tension of him sitting on his piano there is quite great. But when they figured stuff out and when they were in tune with each other, great things happened. I'll just let you read something really quickly. I might even read it with you. He was head of a large company with offices in 3 cities. He was the father of 5 children. He was a performer, a writer, a producer, a television director, a motion picture director, a businessman, a creator, a visionary. And with all this, he always managed to have fun. I'll let you read it, actually. I'm slower than you are. Can't see, okay. But then he couldn't help himself, and he would join in the silliness until he cried from laughter, and then he would look at his watch and bring us back on course, but he always had a gift for allowing chaos, and through the chaos, guiding us to a better result. Does anyone know who that might be talking about? Who? Which friend? Sorry? Not Jobs, no. Boris and Michael? No, it's not them. It's Frank Oz talking about Jim Henson, who I think of all the people that I've ever seen at work probably had the most fun, right? Of all the friends that decided, I know what, let's do a puppet show, and then did it, and then nailed it so beautifully that they did that, and they did the Muppets. And then have you ever seen those pictures of when they did all the puppetry in Return of the Jedi? So when they took all the Muppet puppets to the Star Wars set, and they had them all hang out together, Yoda with Miss Piggy. It's a great set of photos. They were just having a laugh. And I bet every morning they were going, man, we're going to get busted soon, right? We are just literally doing puppet shows, and people go, oh, they're geniuses. They're amazing. But to be together for many years and be insanely creative and do the thing that they loved, I think is a very beautiful thing. This comes up quite a lot. Failure. Do you ever get that? People talk about it's great to fail, like fail forward, fail faster. You ever heard any of those phrases used in the world? It's just my pet hate. I think failure is shit. I think it sucks. I hear a lot of people talking about how great it is to fail. I don't agree. That's my personal bit. Anyway, I think it's much better to ignore people who are telling you can't do stuff and do it anyway. But when we started Innocent, everyone told us how we couldn't do what we were doing, how we couldn't make the drinks that we were making, how just every reason under the sun why it wouldn't work. People wouldn't pay the money, the drinks wouldn't last long enough, and we were idiots, and we'd never run a food and drink company in our life, and why the hell did we think we had the right to do it? And we'd come away from those meetings going, I think that guy actually had a few positives to say about us. I think actually he likes the idea. What did you think? Yeah, that's what I heard too. And we invented a little filter for ourselves, which is when we heard the bad stuff, we walked away because somewhere inside we knew it was going to work. I'm not going to tell you about woolly hats on bottles, apart from say it's good. I just think you need to do things faster. I don't believe in failure. I think you should do it so fast that you can't even remember whether it worked or it didn't work. Just be doing the next thing by the time you think you're still doing the last thing. Just always be doing the next thing. And in the end, like, some stuff just feels right. People are always going to tell you that what you're doing could be better, could be straight, could be round, could be blue, could be green. Everyone's got a freaking opinion, and it's really boring, right? If they've got such a great opinion, tell them to go and do their own thing that way, rather than dish it out on you. I'm a great believer that if you feel what you do is right, then it's probably right. That's right? Building a massive yellow basket as your company headquarters, that feels right, I think. Having a phone, our very first phone, shaped as a banana, there's stories about that phone you won't believe that are so integral to our success, but it's still, in the end, it's a plastic phone shaped like a banana. There's our first office, or our second office. There's the tapestry. There's Rick, like just checking out everyone all the time, making you do shit. There's them having an amazing time. Like all this stuff just feels right? It all feels right. They felt right. He feels right. And that felt right. And I'm done. Thank you very much.